All right. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the August 25th, 2025 City of Gardner Planning Commission meeting to order. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Begin with Commissioner roll call, beginning on my right.
Commissioner Landsberg present.
Commissioner Vonderschmidt present.
Commissioner Souza present.
Commissioner Combs present.
Commissioner Berg present.
Commissioner Olucci present.
All right. We have a quorum. Okay, moving into the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired, an item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of the Planning Commission or the applicant. And we have the standing approval of the minutes as written for the meeting on July 28th, 2025. Is there any member from the commission who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Combs with a second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Moving on to the regular agenda, we have item number 1. Evergy, this is preliminary plat and final plat located at 17955 Clare Road, item number 25-31208. And just due to my employment at Evergy and past involvement in this project, I'm going to recuse myself again and turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Souza.
Okay. All right. So, do we have the applicant here?
Yes.
All right. Just state your name and address for the records.
Jessica Keck, and the address is 818 South Kansas Avenue, Topeka, Kansas. And I don't have a presentation, but I'm here for any questions you guys might have. I think there's a small presentation by planning, and then if you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Okay. Does staff have a presentation? All right.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Evergy is requesting approval of a preliminary plat and final plat for an 11-acre site. It is located near the Grotto development along South Clare Road. On April 21st, 2025, the property was rezoned to AP, Planned Agriculture District, with a conditional use permit approved for each of the 2 substations. Evergy Emerald Substation will be on Lot 1 on the eastern portion and would be owned and operated by Evergy. Substation number 4 on Lot 2 will be owned and operated by Gardner Electric. Tract A will be used as a detention basin for the entire development, and Tract B will contain the stream and the 60-foot wide stream corridor buffer that will be maintained in its natural state. The final plat is consistent with the preliminary plat. Staff finds the preliminary plat is in general compliance with the Land Development Code, that the final plat is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat, and that the project is consistent with the various policies in the comprehensive plan to support future growth. Staff recommends approval of both the preliminary plat and final plat with 2 conditions. The Planning Commission has decision-making authority for both. Staff recommends approval with the 2 conditions listed. The first is to ensure the stream corridor is preserved and stormwater detention and treatment provided, and the second is to ensure the final plat is recorded before construction begins. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, Jess. All right. So, gonna open discussions. You, commissioners? We're gonna start on my right.
Any questions?
Questions?
No questions.
Any questions?
No questions.
Questions?
I just have one. As far as security, with this being, you know, in a rural area and being offset from the road, I know we've had issues at times with, you know, substation 3, with the main substation with a raccoon one time. But what type of preventive measures as far as, you know, I'm not talking terrorism or anything like that. I'm just talking, you're next to a neighborhood, children are gonna be interested, you know, seeing what's going on there. They're gonna hear the hum of everything. So what are we planning? Do we have cameras or, you know, security gates?
We have security gates, we have the security mesh fencing, and then we have the 1 foot of barbed wire on top. We don't typically do cameras, and I don't know what's on the Gardner side. I can't speak for what is or isn't on that one. We would do cameras if we noticed that there was an issue, but it would be at the point where we noticed there was an issue. For animals and stuff, the plantings, we keep, you know, a minimum distance away from our fence so they can't get into our fence and stuff like that. But the security mesh is honestly what we've used, and it's our security measure, our standard security measure for our fence, plus the barbed wire on top.
And is it alarmed? Any part of the facility, so if there is an intrusion?
Yeah, it should be. I can verify that 100%, but I don't know for sure if it is. It should be. I know I've been into a couple that have had the cameras and they do have an alarm. Our gates should too, but I'll verify that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you. All right, now that seeing that we don't have any more questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second. Oh, sorry.
No, you're-
I thought you, I didn't see anything to
You're
read,
good.
so I didn't get to read anything.
Yeah, no, we're good. So the planning commission recommends approval. I'm gonna pause, I'm sorry. We actually approved both of these, right? That's right, good, sorry. The planning commission recommends approval of the preliminary plat and final plat for the Evergy Emerald Substation, subject to the following conditions, identified as item 1 and 2 in the staff report.
Second.
All right, the motion has passed 7-0.
Nope.
Have them do the vote. You've got the
Oh.
motion and second, so we just need a vote.
Okay. You guys ready for voting? All right. Okay, sorry, I haven't done this in a while. Okay. If you agree, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Oppose? All right, the motion passed 7-0.
Hopefully this goes fast.
Yeah.
We're good.
It's on you. Welcome back.
Right. Good to go to item number 2, I assume? All right, Horizon Point, first plat, final development plan and final plat is generally located at the southeast corner of 175th Street and Four Corners Road. Do we have a staff presentation? Or do the applicant first, sorry? Okay, all right.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brian Ham, 7917 West 95th Street. I just wanted to go ahead and take a moment to thank staff. They've worked very well with us for this whole process. We're very excited to bring this development. We feel we're right there at the finish line. There's just a couple things that we just kind of want to share with you before we move to a vote. So just a couple discussion items about traffic calming, our amenities park, and then the conditions for approval. So we've gone back and forth with staff on the traffic calming measures along Fleur Street. What you're looking here is an example that they've given us of what they want us to base it off of. And we are agreeing with this mini roundabout, but that doesn't mean we don't still have concerns with it. And so we just like to share those concerns with you before we move forward. The first is the alternate idea of having a speed table right here located just to the north of the amenity area, which is tract E in the green there. Just an alternative idea of having a speed table there, maybe moving it a little bit south to connect those sidewalks there for a little bit more pedestrian walkway. The timeline for the amenity areas is, we've talked with staff previous to this, and there's going to be a change in one of their conditions for approval. But basically, we move a lot quicker than a lot of other builders because of our production style. When we come in ready for applying for building permits, we're probably going to apply for around 20 building permits at a time, and they're going to come pretty quick. We're at a pace of about 2 starts a week, and so we worked with staff as well to try and give them a heads up with the floor plans we intend to build. We have a set 15 or so floor plans to give their team enough time to review these things so they're not getting swamped with building permits right off the front. But originally they'd asked for us to pull no more than 75% of the building permits in phase 1 and hold the recording of plat 2. We've just asked to push that time frame back a little bit so we have some runway to go, because these things take longer than you'd like them to take, and we've got to sort through all the details, but we also don't want them to feel like we're doing a bait and switch or dragging on and never install this thing, because we are very excited about it. We feel like it's going to be a really grand amenity area for Gardner, so we do definitely want to put it in. We just need a little bit of breathing room before we actually get going so we don't stop the train. I'm going to back up just a little bit. So with the traffic calming, we augmented these slides briefly because we've had some conversations with them in the 11th hour. So basically, some of our concerns with these mini roundabouts is I actually drive by this roundabout twice a week as I drop my kids off at daycare and come into the office, and I see people drive over this thing all the time. Big trucks, they just go right over the curb, or you got those fast little Miatas that they put a supercharger in, and they're taking those things a little bit quicker because it's a little fun speed trap for them. The other thing we see with these arrows is people cut that left turn. They're not going to go all the way around this mini roundabout because there's no traffic. They're just going to cut that mini roundabout. So in a residential area, although this is a slightly different area, it's just south of 76th Street or on 76th Street in Metcalf. It's more of an urban feel around there where we're a secluded neighborhood. We feel that people are going to cut that corner even more or just drive right over this thing. So those are some of our concerns, along with some maintenance concerns with snow plows, or even with a speed table. We've heard that residents don't like them. We think they don't like them because they make people slow down, whereas roundabouts, they might just cut that corner. So those are just a couple of our concerns. We're leaving it up to you guys to make the call on that. If staff wants the mini roundabout, then we will install one. One of the conditions I just talked about here is that we've actually gotten an agreement with staff on this prior to this meeting, is that we're just going to kick that phase 3 being one of the stopping points of platting that, and then we will push 53 building permits into phase 2 is when we need to have that amenity area installed. So staff will talk about that a little bit, but we wanted to make sure that we let you guys know that we've been working with them, and they've been fantastic on that. So this is just an overview of the staff recommendations. And so the first one, the yellow, that's the one that we augmented a little bit, and then the 2 in the bold are additional recommendations that staff's going to have for us there. So one of them is installing that mini roundabout at Fleur in 177th, and that we're going to actually have the center hardscape of that mini roundabout to be owned and maintained by the HOA. That's it, unless you guys have any questions for us.
I think we'll save questions after the staff presentation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The applicant is requesting approval of the final development plan and final plat for the first phase of Horizon Point for a residential development. It is part of a 246-lot development with 4 phases and is located at the southeast corner of 175th Street and Four Corners Road, which consists of 2 parcels and was annexed this year with Ordinance 2836. There is currently a farming homestead in the northeast corner of the property, but most of the land is agricultural. In the southern third of the property, there is a stream corridor that flows to the southwest. and there are currently a total of 23 oil wells spaced out on the property, which will have to be removed and capped in accordance with the regulations set by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. On June 16th, 2025, the property was rezoned from County RUR to RP2, Planned Two-Family District, with Ordinance 2841. At that meeting, the governing body granted a deviation that allowed sidewalks to be built on only one side of the street in exchange for an upgraded amenity area to be included in Tract E. The items before you tonight are for a 67-lot subdivision with 7 tracts on 26.19 acres. The building type is for 60-foot wide lot residential neighborhood buildings. Infrastructure will be extended with this phase. Gardner will be servicing the electric and sanitary sewer, while Water District 7 will provide the water. The open space is shown in green, with Tract E in the center having the proposed amenity area. The stream corridor, shown in light blue, will be preserved as part of future phases. Tract F, shown in gray to the north of it, and Tract D next to the amenity area are detention basins which will be built to handle the stormwater. A lift station will be built in Tract G, which is just to the north of that stream corridor. The sanitary sewer will have gravity flow to it and then will be pumped to the north and east. Phase 1 will include the entrance drive from West 175th Street and also include a fire access drive to both Four Corners Road and the lift station. During the preliminary plan review, there were concerns about the street's relatively grid-like layout and the potential need for traffic calming. Staff has concluded that the best solution for the traffic calming, while not interfering with the snow plowing, is to include a mini roundabout at the intersection of Fleur and West 177th Street. The handout page that you had at your dais with the revised conditions in red includes one condition about showing the mini roundabout on the final development plan and another one about including a tract for that center island with HOA maintenance responsibilities on the final plat. The landscape plan includes street trees and buffering along West 175th Street and to the south along tracts D and E. The existing foliage that will remain should be shown on the landscape plan, or additional evergreen trees should be added along the southern property line of tracts D and E to provide a stronger buffer to the adjacent properties. Ornamental and evergreen trees are shown to be planted to soften the 6-foot white vinyl fence proposed around the sanitary sewer lift station. The amenity area is proposed to contain a shade structure, playground, splash pad, and an open field for passive recreation. After discussing with the applicant, staff is supportive of the revised Condition 1 as shown on the handout page. It changes the requirement to install the amenity area from part of Phase 1 to part of Phase 2 and adds the requirement that a letter of credit be provided for the amenity area before building permits are issued. This is to ensure that the amenity area is built in the situation that the development does not continue past Phase 1. There are a total of 16 proposed elevations that were provided. The building plans range from roughly 1,600 to 2,600 square feet of floor area. They consist of single-story, 4-sided brick masonry homes. The front elevations include details such as stone columns, shutters, and small windows above the entryway. Because of the building plans and the neighborhood building type lots, there are 6 deviations that are being requested with the final development plan. The first is to allow for 50% maximum building coverage, an increase from the standard of the 40% maximum. The second deviation is for a greater garage front facade of 47% to allow for 2-car garages. The third is to allow for a front yard setback of 20 feet. With the developer's request to install sidewalks on only one side of the street, the preliminary development plan showed a 25-foot front building setback on the side of the street that would have a sidewalk and a 20-foot front building setback on the side without the sidewalk. Typically, a 20-foot front building setback would require a terrace frontage type, But in order to maintain the neighborhood yard frontage type that was previously approved with the preliminary development plan, the developer requested a deviation to reduce the setback on that side of the street that will not have the sidewalk. The fourth deviation is to allow for a 20-foot wide driveway in the front yard. And the fifth is to allow a smaller front entry feature, but with the added architectural features the building plans include. Finally, the last request is to allow the front entry sidewalk to lead to the driveway instead of to the sidewalk at the street, and staff is supportive of all 6 deviation requests. The final plat is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat, but will need to be revised to include that mini roundabout center island tract. Staff finds that the final development plan is generally in compliance with the preliminary development plan, that it is in compliance with the land development code with the exception of those 6 requested deviations, and that it needs to be revised to include the mini roundabout. And staff finds that the final plat is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat, and it also needs to be revised to include the tract for the mini roundabout center island. There are 2 recommendations. The first is for the final development plan, and staff recommends approval of it and the 6 deviations with the revised condition 1 and the added condition 5 as shown on the screen. The second recommendation is for the final plat, and staff also recommends approval with the added condition 4. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Move into commissioner discussion. We'll begin my right. Commissioner Lansford, do you have any questions?
Yeah, on the traffic calming, why, you have 2 intersections that appear similar. The Essex and 175th is similar to the intersection where you're requesting traffic calming measures. So why was that one near the entrance not recommended for traffic calming?
And I'm going to speak a little bit for our Public Works Department because that's where the traffic calming request is coming from. So they have looked at what each of these roads would be kind of collecting. They're not technically collectors, but if you look at where 177th Street, where it's shown going to Four Corners Road, eventually that road will go through there. So you will have a function that's going east and west across all phases of the development. Same with Fleur. At that point, you're kind of in the middle of Fleur. So up at 175th Terrace there, you won't have the amount of traffic or the ability to speed up the traffic to get to that intersection the same as you will at this intersection at 176th Street. So from the standpoint of Public Works, that's what they're looking at, is they're looking at that overall traffic flow and where there may be points where the traffic has an opportunity to speed up enough that it warrants essentially some type of traffic calming measure. In this case, our Public Works staff with their traffic engineer consultant has determined they would prefer to have those mini roundabouts versus the speed tables. Either function usually gets complaints from the neighborhood because exactly what the applicant was talking about, it slows traffic, which is not always what somebody wants to do, even though they all like it when their kids are out there to have the slower traffic. When they're trying to get from point A to point B, it's an inconvenience for them. But from Public Works standpoint, they feel that the speed table